Nobody knows about that. Is that correct? See, I can shift at any moment. I'm being very honest. I have no idea who I'm talking to. I'm being very honest.
What do you mean, red cardinals?
That's just what they showed me.
Can I ask you a question?
Sure.
Oh my God.
This video will expose and describe the linguistic tactics that self-professed mediums use. How can we use the analysis of these tactics to get better at recognizing deceptive language, both in the shows and interviews we watch and in our own daily conversations? If you're excited about language and how it works, like and subscribe for more videos. Welcome to the channel.
There were two moms that stepped forward. Is it your grandmother that is departed? But I want to go on your mom's side of the family. Mom's mom? Okay, so know that she steps forward.
This is probing, the most common tactic mediums use. In the vast majority of cases, probing consists of dichotomy questions, yes or no. Dichotomy questions are much safer than presupposition questions, questions that start with how, what, when, where, why. It wouldn't look good if a medium asked a relative, "When did your maternal grandmother pass?" and the relative responded, "She's still alive." Mediums learn a lot about the relative from asking dichotomy questions, and the relatives always say too much, either intentionally or unintentionally, because who says we can always trust the relatives, especially hosts of a TV show? In this video, I assume that the reading isn't scripted, and I'll use the term medium, which doesn't mean I acknowledge the so-called profession.
Mom's mom? Okay.
If her mom's mom had actually stepped forward, something that would be miraculous, it's rather strange that she doesn't care to identify herself, something that isn't miraculous in comparison, especially when considering all the other messages that deceased loved ones are able to give, allegedly. I'll get back to that. Initially, she didn't even know which grandmother it was, but because of the probing and Sonny's acknowledgement token,
But I want to go on your mom's side of the family.
and the dichotomy question,
Mom's mom?
she's suddenly able to speak assertively.
So know that she steps forward.
These are the first of many red flags, signs that the medium is guessing, and at the same time, trying to save face.
Now, I do not get a reference to mom on the other side, so is mom still with us?
Yeah.
Cool. Would it be a male sibling that would have this daughter?
Yes.
Okay.
My brother.
Right.
In the following, notice how Theresa watches Sonny closely, looking for any kind of confirmation she can use, a nod, a blink, and how quickly she changes the subject when she doesn't get it. This is the silent aspect of probing.
So know that she steps forward, and there's this quickness, because when souls snap their fingers at me, even if somebody is ill prior to their departure, when they snap their fingers at me, it means that we weren't expecting them to pass. And I also just heard, and I'm being very honest, I have no idea who I'm talking to. I was just told that nobody knows about that. Is that correct? About what you carried on the burden that you feel that you should have been there, could have been there. Is that correct?
Yes.
Mediums tap into common human emotions and values, something that all relatives feel.
And that you feel that you should have been there, could have been there.
But when participants get emotional, particularly celebrities and hosts of a TV show that people already feel a parasocial relationship with, the obvious and superficial things mediums say can easily be mistaken for profound statements. Another sneaky tactic mediums use is symbols. Here it's snapping fingers. Mediums can change the meaning of these symbols, depending on the development of the given conversation. Notice how Theresa uses this symbol in a self-protective fashion.
There's this quickness, because when souls snap their fingers at me, even if somebody is ill prior to their departure.
This way, no matter if the grandmother died suddenly or slowly, Theresa won't lose face, because the symbol, which is nowhere to be found except in Theresa's head, conveniently covers both extremes. Also, we can't know the exact moment someone will pass, so not expecting someone to pass couldn't be any more normal. No matter how much Theresa guides the audience to think that her trivial guess is special.
I was just told nobody knows about that.
So she was told that, but not that it was Sonny's maternal grandmother. Sure.
Mom's mom? I was just told.
Just is a dependent adverb, meaning it requires an attendant thought to make sense. When a speaker says, "We're just going out for a short while," they use the adverb to compare this thought to the opposite thought, not just going out for a short while. Thus, Theresa could be comparing being told this to not being told this. In any case, the adverb should be noted because either way, Theresa consistently uses self-protective language and just has an oversimplifying function. Oversimplifications could point to additional information that a speaker chooses not to disclose for whatever self-protective reason.
And I'm being very honest.
In conversation, speakers expect each other to be honest. Phrases like honestly, to be honest, and also, let's be clear, have an overly convincing function. They're performative, meaning that the speaker shows a high level of self-awareness. Depending on the context, appeals to honesty are likely indications that speakers aren't being honest, or as appears to be the case here, that speakers haven't been honest up until a certain point. The adverb should be noted, no matter if it's used by criminals in interrogation rooms or self-professed mediums that claim to have abilities that defy the laws of logic and physics.
Could have been there, is that correct?
Yes.
So that is something that you need to allow me to take from you today.
And what a true comfort it is. A few seconds ago, she had to ask if it was Sonny's maternal grandmother, and said that she has no idea who she's talking to.
I have no idea.
Very strong indications that she isn't talking to anyone. But now she's able to take the burden away. In any other situation I can think of, this wouldn't only be considered unreliable, but also deceptive. And people giving themselves self-aggrandizing titles like medium shouldn't change that. Theresa doesn't dwell on the same deceased loved one for too long, because it might be a little too obvious that she isn't able to give more details than anybody else would be able to do. So next we get more probing.
Who was cremated?
My grandmother.
Okay.
It's very convenient that the deceased loved ones are able to give the medium generic messages about letting go, but not less accessible information about how they were buried. Notably, Theresa doesn't ask, "When was your grandmother cremated?" In general, mediums avoid such potentially compromising presupposition questions. What happens when a medium tries a presupposition question and fails?
Did somebody lose their husband over here? Who lost the husband? Now, what was with the oatmeal? Or did you used to make him eat a certain food or something? Okay, this is my meaning. See, my meaning in signs and symbols, it doesn't mean that they're incorrect. It means that it might just have a different meaning for you.
Here, Theresa's quick question in form of a dichotomy has two functions.
Or did you used to make him eat a certain food or something?
To try and make people forget the specific presupposition question about oatmeal, and grant Theresa leeway by widening the scope of what this food could be. Sonny and Anna are public figures. Details about their family, including deceased family members, would be easy to find. However, even if we grant that Theresa doesn't know anything about them, this open question would have allowed her to simply move on in case they hadn't answered.
Who was cremated? Who was cremated?
My grandmother.
Okay. So know that it's okay. Do you understand that? It's okay on how I was laid to rest.
So Theresa is able to quote the grandmother directly, using the personal pronoun I. But a few seconds ago, she didn't know who was cremated. Sure, that doesn't sound like a false assurance at all. Claiming to know the thoughts of someone else, let alone someone who's deceased, is a strong indication that what a speaker says stems from their imagination, that it's not only unreliable, but also deceptive. Next, more probing, because Theresa literally can't dwell on the details.
Do you understand the brother that passed? But there are two of them that step forward.
Two women or a woman and
two young. See, I can shift at any moment.
A speaker who can shift at any moment. What's not to believe? What actually happened was that Theresa stated something that Sonny didn't immediately relate to, and Theresa immediately starts defending herself and retracting her statement. Key features of deceptive language, and Theresa isn't done retracting her statement by widening the scope of it. Watch this.
So I don't have any control over who comes through, but there were two males that stepped forward. They were both young for me as anyone that left the physical world before we feel their time.
Yes.
Is your mom passed as well?
Mm-hmm.
Because Sonny didn't immediately relate to Theresa's probing, Theresa's now downgraded brothers to the more generic males, and she won't even say that these males were objectively young. No, cunningly, she says.
Young for me is
as if there could be other interpretations, same as the generic phrase.
For we feel their time.
The reason for this is to make the description of these males so generic that any relative could relate to it. However, despite this cunning attempt to make age sound subjective for self-protective and thus self-serving reasons, Theresa isn't lucky this time around, so she does what she does best. She changes the subject.
Is your mom passed as well?
Theresa's had years to find this information, which took me 3 seconds of hard work to find.
Is your mom passed as well? Mm-hmm. How do you connect with the chest? I just had a lot of difficulty breathing, so it has to be heart, lungs, or chest. Or there was like a filling up with a fluid. Is that how your mom departed, or something you remember?
She had lung issues.
Okay.
Yeah.
Is your mom newly departed? Newly for me is within 2 years.
Yes.
Mediums consistently list several options in order to grant themselves leeway.
How do you connect with the chest? Is that how your mom departed, or something you remember?
This is part of the filling the frame tactic mediums use. The medium provides the frame and waits for the relative to fill it. This way, mediums can keep getting more and more information about the relative's family, information they can use later on to make impressionable people think that they were able to guess details they couldn't possibly have known. When the relative isn't able to fill the frame because she can't recognize the alleged symbol, mediums end up in the following cringeworthy situation, with lots of probing to see if anything resonates with the relative.
So what happened is I saw chocolate all around his face. That's my symbol for somebody was either diabetic or they were not allowed to eat certain foods here in the physical world. So whatever it was that he was not allowed to have, because he just now showed me himself full face, rosy cheeks, that's my symbol for where someone's physical appearance has changed. So whatever it was that he was not able to prior to his departure, he left with the physical body and he's able to do on the other side. Now I want to talk about who's wearing the picture of someone.
After mentioning the chocolate, Theresa pauses. When this pause turns out not to be the great recognition point it was meant to be, she tries a new approach, which all of a sudden isn't limited to food.
Because he just now showed me himself full face, rosy cheeks.
It's strange that she didn't mention the rosy cheeks along with the chocolate around his mouth. It's almost as if she just mentions more and more stuff when she doesn't hear acknowledgement tokens from the relative. I've no idea why it appears that way. Okay, back to the brothers. Males. Mother.
Is your mom newly departed? Newly for me is within 2 years.
How convenient that this is Theresa's definition of newly, when public posts show that Anna's mother passed in December 2021. Posts that also mention a long period of illness, which would naturally involve having trouble breathing.
She shows me that she was greeted by the young male on the other side. Oh. So she shows me that it was the brother. So I don't know if it was her brother. She says, and she's crying and she says, I knew that there was a heaven. She said to me, after he died, I was never the same. She says, and I want to say that I'm sorry. That in a sense, the day that this gentleman departed, she says, a part of my soul went with him, and I am sorry.
But wait, Theresa knew about the brother, so that must mean she has supernatural abilities after all, and that we should ignore all the linguistic signs of deception, right? Well, not entirely. On a surface level, it could sound like Theresa's taking a chance here by mentioning the brother, but she's not, because the fact that Anna's lost a brother before her mother passed is also publicly available information, and since no parent is ever the same after losing a son, Theresa's attempt at quoting the relative directly is as superficial as it is deceptive. But at least Theresa tries to disguise the information that she's had plenty of opportunity to Google for 5 seconds before the show. For now, that is, but I'm getting ahead of myself.
So I don't know if it was her brother.
Once again, it's strange that the deceased loved ones have so much to say when they don't even care to identify themselves to the medium.
Mom's mom?
It's also strange how their statements sound like they come straight from a touching B-movie. In addition to this, there's a verb tense problem.
And she's crying and she says, she said to me...
Shifts between verb tenses are a sign that the speaker's making it up as they go, rehearsing what they say as opposed to merely saying it, in the same performative fashion as when Theresa appealed to honesty.
And I'm being very honest.
Next, Theresa needs more information to impress the relatives. So, you guessed it, it's probing time.
Your dad's still here in the physical world?
Yes.
Because she handed red roses. So when a soul hands red roses, however you can connect with it, that's your connection. There are certain things that I can't misinterpret. So when they show me like red cardinals, butterflies, and then they make me feel like someone's standing next to me, that's my symbol for where there are things going on around you that you're not putting together. That is your love.
What do you mean, red cardinals?
That's just what they showed me.
I think of my mom when I see red cardinal.
Perfect. So know that that's real. Know that that is not your imagination. It's not cliche.
The words people choose speak volumes about what's on their mind, what's really on their mind. So when Theresa says it's not cliche, it's an overwhelming indication that she knows that's what her descriptions sound like. Clichés, something out of a B-movie. Also, notice the chronology.
Your dad's still here in the physical world?
Yes.
Because she handed red roses.
Theresa only started talking about handing red roses once she learned that he was alive. The pattern is consistent. Mediums use dichotomy questions to get the information they need, and then they start being assertive. It's not the other way around. And the symbols can mean whatever the medium needs them to mean, depending on the relative they're sitting across.
Perfect.
I believe Theresa when she says that because she desperately needs the relative to fill the frame. Perfect is yet another indication that this maneuver is about convincing the relatives. Convincing is the way to keep making money.
Can I ask you a question?
Sure. If I don't get a yes or no answer before you finish, I'm going to say I didn't get anything.
Theresa really doesn't want to be asked questions, but of course she can't say that. A few seconds ago, she was able to recount entire monologues.
I was never the same. She says, and I want to say that I'm sorry.
So asking a deceased loved one a question should be an easy task in comparison, right?
Can I ask you a question?
Sure. If I don't get a yes or no answer before you finish, I'm going to say I didn't get anything.
So my grandmother was living with me and she died.
Mm-hmm.
I think I chose the wrong hospital.
You made the right choice. Do you still have her prayer book or Bible? Because she just showed me the nightstand with a Bible wrapped in rosary beads.
Oh my God.
Oh.
To validate that you made the right choice and decision.
Thank you.
Who says it was the right choice? Theresa just unapologetically changed the subject. She certainly seemed thrilled about the question. It's very convenient and highly unreliable that Theresa's suddenly able to link the prayer book or Bible to making the right hospital choice. These two things are completely unrelated, and Theresa didn't even know about the prayer book or Bible until she asked. Once again, this goes to show that symbols mean what the mediums need them to mean, depending on how the given conversation develops. Sunny gave too much information. She let Theresa know that her grandmother lived with her. This makes it more likely that Sunny has kept a prayer book, a Bible. Theresa doesn't even say which. Even the rosary beads make sense, considering Sunny's Catholic. Also publicly available information.
And I felt like she died alone, which is why a lot of times I carry her rosary with me. So thank you.
Don't thank me, thank her.
Many emotional moments aren't real because they rest on false premises. This moment is no exception.
So do you have a unique piece of jewelry of your mom's?
Yes.
Are they things from her mom? Because now, or it has to be generational items as well. It was maybe from her mom or...
Yeah, this ring was her mom's and
Perfect.
then hers.
Theresa's perfect sounds like something someone would say when they make a lucky guess. Wait. Theresa's asking safe questions, questions that ensure that even if the relative said no to them, which is unlikely, she could easily move on to a new series of probing questions.
I don't know who the young male is. I don't know who the young male is.
No, of course she doesn't. That must be why she keeps hammering that point. Or is Theresa expecting us to believe that she doesn't have internet access?
I don't know if you felt something. I watched the soul come over and kiss you. And he said, thank you for always remembering me.
How did the soul even have time to say and do that? Theresa uses past tense, as if this event didn't take place right now in the moment.
I watched the soul come over and kiss you.
It's amazing what mediums are able to see once they know who's deceased. That's why Theresa wanted to know if Anna's father had passed.
Your dad's still here in the physical world?
If he'd passed, she could use his soul to describe yet another cliched movie scene.
Is it your brother?
It's my brother.
Because he said, because I took a part of my mom with me the day that I died.
He did.
And he said, and I am sorry for that. Just know, he says, that I was there when Mom crossed over. I waited for her at the foot of the bed.
I hope so.
This reading ends in the same generic and deceptive way it began, with cliched dialogue and gestures that the deceased loved ones hardly have time to say and perform. Sometimes it's made painfully obvious that the medium isn't in contact with anyone.
Who died right in front of someone?
Right over here.
Okay. And who's this?
Here you go.
Died right in front of... So your dad died right in front of you, is that correct?
Yeah.
Was he a sports fanatic?
He likes sports, but
Because he's more interested in Michael right now. He goes, Theresa, this is so cool. I go, I know, isn't this amazing?
We high five. There you go, Dad. That's what I'm talking about.
Isn't it amazing?
Does he have anything to say?
daughter?
Does he have anything to say to me?
I know, apparently not. Apparently he doesn't know this model stuff here because he goes.
This is a revealing self-correction. The first thing on Theresa's mind, apparently, is that this is something she says, and then she shifts pronoun.
He goes.
Thus, Theresa's spontaneous pronoun usage points to the same conclusion that her other tactics point to, that her dialogue with the spirits or souls is completely made up, and not even in a manner that points to intellect or talent. I'm often asked if I believe all mediums are fake. To me, this is a superficial question. The question should be, how many times do we have to observe the same emotional manipulation, the same deceptive tactics, before we're allowed to say that something is fake? For example, how many times do we have to falsify stories about alleged encounters with unicorns, before we're allowed to say that unicorns don't exist? People who are in their feelings have the wrong approach. When something that's easy to do and is easily explained by science, and in this case simple party tricks, assuming supernatural explanations isn't only contrary to scientific principles, but also contrary to logic itself. So the fact that anybody can still be persuaded by mediums in 2024 goes to show what a powerful and deceptive force emotions can be. Emotions at the expense of logic. Emotions that unreliable TV shows keep feeding for views. And emotions that self-professed mediums take advantage of for money. Come on, what's the harm in that? Firstly, in what other profession would it be okay for a person to lie about their skills? Secondly, no one knows how readings will affect people. Will they make changes to their lives, potentially negative changes? Will they have a different view of their deceased loved one, etc., etc.?
Does he have anything to say? Does he have anything to say to me?
I know, apparently not.
People see what's on camera. They don't see what happens when the cameras are turned off. What else are people who are willing to take advantage of other people's grief capable of doing? What's the cost of selling relatives false hope and false assurances? Deception is always wrong and can never be justified. That's it for now. If you liked the video, click the like button. That's a big help. See you next time.